Welcome to Gun Owners of America, State of the Second podcast. I'm Kailey.
And I'm John, and today we're joined by Grant from Mantis. How are you, my friend?
I'm excellent, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Well, we appreciate you coming out. We've got some cool toys here that we'll get into in a little bit, but let's start off with our rapid fire question segment. We're going to ask you 5 questions to answer them for us. First one is, what is your go-to EDC?
Right. Yeah, this is a tough one because I'm in the process of trying to switch, and it's difficult. But a VP9 is my go-to. But I'm working with a Shadow Systems M920 right now because we are working on a product that's going to reset the trigger for you in your Glock. So it's a Blackbeard for pistols, and we don't have one for the VP9 yet, but we've got one for working and ready for the Glock. So I'm trying to get better at shooting my Glock.
Awesome.
Is that a good question or a good answer?
That's a great answer.
All right. But if I had to choose one to pick up and actually defend myself, it would be my VP9.
What is your latest impulse buy?
I'm not an impulse buy guy. I just, I really.
Look at you being fiscally responsible.
No, I just overthink everything, I think is more the problem. Yeah, I don't. I'll leave that to my wife. So, yeah. That's a terrible answer, but that's it.
If you're going hunting, what's your go-to caliber?
308.
Are you more likely to watch content creators in the firearm space on Instagram or YouTube?
YouTube. Yeah, I'm glad you didn't say the other one. My daughter's 11, and whenever she talks about anything, we say, "Oh, you got that off the Tic Tacs," and it drives her insane, which I just love doing. But
if you could go back and change one thing in history, would you?
Oh boy. I've actually wrestled with this. I don't know why, but I've overthought this. And I think that I would tend to think I'm doing something great and it would make things worse. So I don't think I would do anything to change anything.
Butterfly effect.
Yeah. It makes me really nervous.
Well,
even though it's not real, but it does make me nervous.
Well, that wraps up rapid fire. Let's go into how you got at Mantis. What do you guys do? All that fun stuff.
Okay. So Mantis is a firearms training company, and at its core, we just use technology to help people train to get better, right? So fundamentally, our core products are going to assess trigger press, tell you what you're doing wrong with your press, tell you how to get better at it, and use that to improve overall marksmanship and gun handling. So safety first and effectiveness second, I guess, would be our thing.
If you don't work in the gun industry, you've never played with it as much, but if you work in the gun industry, we had office pools with our Mantises at Faxon where we'd sit there and dry fire practice all day and see who could outdo each other. It is one of the greatest training tools I've ever played with. I put it on everything to dry fire practice.
Awesome.
I can't remember which one. It's the little
X10.
The X10, yeah.
The X10 Elite. Yeah. It's funny. I was a customer before I ever started working for the company, and I tried all the stuff out there before. And whenever someone says, "Oh yeah, I've heard them," but they haven't actually tried it, I'm like, give it a try. Just because it is one of those things where you have to experience it to understand what it's capable of. And most people just barely scratch the surface of what it can do. But yeah, so I bought one. This was just before COVID. And I was practicing with it a lot. And when I reached out to the company, the first thing that Alpha Landingham, who was the director of sales at the time, asked me was, "What's your username?" Because he wanted to see how I'd been using it. He wanted to see my score. He wanted to see my progression. And he wanted to see basically that I was using it every day and that I was doing well with it. So, and I was, fortunately, I checked all those boxes. So he's like, "Okay, now we can talk." And that was probably half of my interview. So that was interesting because I came from a completely different field and I didn't know that I would be even considered because I used to run high-end spas, which most people just wouldn't guess, right? And so it was a pretty big switch. I actually was nervous about changing my LinkedIn profile for a long time, because once I announced that, I knew I was going to, like, that's it. You're kind of blackballed from that whole industry, right? And I was kind of at the pinnacle of it. So I ran very, very high-end spas in Cala. So
yeah, that was one thing that I really liked about the Mantis product, is being able to do all that and keeping your score and competing with each other. But you brought some stuff with you.
I did.
Let's go ahead. So we have the Blackbeard.
Yeah. So Blackbeard is our X10 that resets your trigger for you in your AR. So it's a drop-in bolt carrier group and charging handle. So a 30-second swap out, and your rifle becomes your training tool. It's going to be your weight, break, and reset of your trigger in your rifle. It's your optics, it's your furniture. You're training with your gun. So we always want, whenever possible, to use as much of your own equipment as possible. So we don't, we prefer not to use facsimiles or training things. That being said, there's a need for them in certain situations. Like maybe you're not allowed to have any live fire weapons in an area, or you can't check them out of the armory, or whatever it happens to be. So we have developed a training gun as well. But this one, if I press the trigger, it's going to reset, and it's going to send a laser down range, and it's going to give you feedback on your trigger rest. So it's going to tell you what you did wrong, and then we can interpret that and give you feedback on how to fix it. So that's it in a nutshell. This one can also do dynamic drills, so multiple shots on multiple targets. So we can measure delay time on target, over travel, the most efficient path between targets, and give you feedback on the dynamic side of shooting as well. So basically anything you could previously only do live fire, now you can get feedback on it in dry fire as well. So if you're clearing your house or clearing a building or working on your favorite dynamic drill, whether it's a box drill or a V drill or a 1 to 5, whatever it is, we can do it. So
yeah, and what's for the audience who don't know, what's the advantage of swapping out your bolt carrier group for a Blackbeard? What's the additional safety and all that other stuff that comes with being able to do it with a laser over regular dry fire?
Got it. So a couple of things. One, just knowing that you see this red, it's all plastic, right? So you know, when you're familiar with the system, you know that this is an inert firearm, so it's completely safe. So this can be used in environments where you may not otherwise been able to do sim rounds or something else. So the closest thing before this was basically simunitions, right? Which is still fantastic. And we do not replace that, nor do we replace live fire. We encourage people to do both. But we don't want you to waste your time either. So we want you to have the best results when you get to that point as possible. So with this, let's say you're doing a class of complete novices that have never handled a firearm before, we can see that they're going to be safe, they're going to be effective. We can see that their weapon handling is going to be proper, that they're not sweeping their partners or people in the class or whatever, because you can turn the laser on full time as well. So you can see where the barrel's being pointed at all times. So there's a number of advantages to training that way before you go live fire. Then all you have to do after you get all those points kind of taken care of is take care of recoil management. So, yeah.
Now, this may be a really dumb question.
I doubt it.
But are there people who use this like laser tag? Is this something, because you're saying it's replacing simunitions and things like that?
Well, not replacing, but enhancing.
Yeah, enhancing, yeah.
Yeah. So you can use it with force on force as long as you wear laser safe glasses. We don't currently have a system that will pick up where the laser's hitting. So it's on our system basically, but we can work with systems that do that, and we can incorporate our technology into those systems. So, but we don't build one currently.
Yeah. I know that was a weird question. That's the first thing that came.
I mean, a lot of people want to do laser tag with it, right?
Yeah.
But most of those systems actually use a radio cone, and the laser is just for you to see where you hit. But the hit boxes are too small for a laser typically. So, yeah.
And then you have this here.
Yeah.
What do we got here? So
this is a 3D printed version of something that we're working on. This is our dedicated training gun. So this is a Titan X in a 320 style. And it's going to have a realistic trigger. So this is from a Legion trigger. So if you want to try that, you're welcome to. And then that's going to pick up everything that's happening. Let me reset that for you. Well, we can do the screen grab later. But is the blue light on?
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, should be good to go. I guess I could just hold this up like that. That's going to show up. Good, shooting well.
I'm winning.
You're winning.
So you can set that tone to be. You heard something that went ding and something that went. You can set that at whatever score you want, so that you don't have to look at the screen, but you can also have it announce the score. There's a number of different ways to do it. But then when you press, if you just tap any of those red areas for me, it'll tell you what you're doing wrong, and then we can give you corrective action that you can take.
It's so cool.
So this one will, we can give you the same information with the Blackbeard, and we can give you the same information with our X10 on your gun. So whether it's live fire or dry fire, you can get that same type of feedback.
And would this be available to go just into regular pistols, or is it a separate?
That one in particular, one that you just tried, that is a dedicated training gun.
Okay.
So, but it's got an optic slide, so it's ready for an RMR or RSR type optic. It is, again, the trigger is as close as you can get to the original trigger that it's replicating. So, we've got this fancy machine that measures trigger press, and like the creep is the same, the brake is the same, the reset's the same. It's really remarkable what we can do. So, and then we are working on a Blackbeard for your pistol as well. That should be ready around SHOT Show. So
that's super exciting.
Yeah, that one is probably the one everyone's the most excited about.
So do you want to ask a question before I keep?
I'm sorry. Yeah.
I'm really excited about this, as you can tell.
No, I think that this is awesome. So I guess my initial question is, I know a lot of experienced shooters that love your product. And I know some people who have just kind of got started into the firearms, community. Space. Also loving your product. When you guys set out to design this, who did you have in mind? Was it the competition shooter or the new gun owner? And how have you kind of managed to get one product that everyone seems to really love and enjoy?
That's a great question. So originally it was built for ourselves. So the owners of the company were shooters that were also tech savvy, and they felt like there's got to be a way to get some data on these errors that everyone's making, right? So up until then, it was either high-speed cameras or an instructor watching you really close, or looking at what happened on the paper, right? And then figuring out what happened from there. Sorry, I keep touching the mic. So what they did, and it's kind of cool, I got an image that I can share with you later. Austin, who's the CEO of the company, his avatar on our Slack channel is a picture of a Glock with a bunch of rubber bands and an old Samsung phone strapped to it. So they used the accelerometer from the phone, and they built the software, and that was a proof of concept. So then they were able to build the hardware to go with it. And then to answer your question, it was really from the origin designed to try to help all shooters. So whatever your level of shooting, it's capable of helping you. Like, it's capable of recording data in such a minute way that everyone can use it. So, yeah.
That's awesome. We live in a society that is driven by the almighty dollar.
Mm-hmm.
So, one of the things that I think is really cool is for people who can't afford to go to the range all the time, whether that is a time restraint or just the fact that it costs a lot of money. Myself included. I wish I could go to the range every day, but that's not the life I'm able to live.
Right.
It is such a great tool to be able to practice and to get information to make you better with kind of only an initial investment versus, actual range time.
Yeah. Buy once, cry once. Right. So and we hopefully that cost point, we've got something that fits everyone's needs. That's our goal as well. But I used to go to the range more than I do now. They say if you want to not shoot, get into the industry, right? Like, that's kind of feels like what it's like. But I used to go to the range quite a bit more. And my first target was always a throwaway. Like, you'd you get there, and I'm left-handed, so I tended to be low right, and I would kind of make my group and then make it smaller and then try to move it where I wanted it to be, right? And then get rid of that target. And now I'm on paper where I want to be, and now I'm going to shoot. I know I can't be the only person that did that. I think there's probably a few of us out there. So when I got the X10, I was like, oh, that's what I'm doing. Even though I'd probably been told that a dozen times by a dozen different instructors, but it really made more sense to me when I could see the trace of what I did wrong with my finger, and it fixed it. And I was like, oh, okay, this is pretty cool, because the next time I went to the range, my first shot and my last shot went pretty much where I wanted them to go. So then I could work on things like transitions and speed and holster to first shot, draw to first shot, and stuff like that I couldn't do dry fire very well. I could spend my time more effectively, so I wasn't wasting rounds and I wasn't wasting time at the range. So.
Yeah. And that's the big thing that I learned when messing with the Mantis, is that I was able to focus on more things and get ready to go to the range a lot easier. The only complaint I had about the X10 is when I would rack the slide, sometimes it would trigger it.
Yeah. So there's sensitivity settings that you can adjust to get rid of that. And then we've actually since then developed some custom algorithms that pick up the way that you use it, and it'll tend to ignore those things. But yeah, every once in a while you can get a false positive.
Overall, it's like one of my favorite things to do. It's just mess with the Mantis and check my score.
When we're on a call, like you have to mute yourself, because otherwise it's like everyone's doing it.
May have muted myself in a few of our calls for that reason. So you guys are working on the dedicated pistol. We have the Blackbeard. Mm-hmm. We were talking about some stuff downstairs. So what is the next big step besides, everything else that we've already talked about?
So probably the biggest one is augmented reality. So that's something that we're working on. We have it actually built out and ready to go, depending on what the client's needs are. But you can scan up to 10,000 square feet of a physical space and then drop in bad guys or drop in anything you want, basically. So we can build it to your needs. So it could be a video game style where it's aliens, or it could be realistic with bad guys that are equipped to your spec, sort of thing. And we can also dial up or down the aggression. So let's say you're clearing your house, right? Someone breaks in your door and you're clearing. Your job is now to clear the house. We could have it so that when you take a shot, they cower, they take off. Or we could have it so that makes them more aggressive and they now come towards the shot, or any variation of that. So some of them could be doing that. Some of them could be doing the other. Any number of hostiles. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Your heart rate, we put heart rate monitors on people when they use it, and it's amazing how, even though it's a completely safe environment, how high your heart rate can get. And then we can also do shock pads and stuff with it. So when you get hit, there's a repercussion. So
I don't want to get hit.
It's humbling. Yeah.
So I know it's not going to be for everybody. It's very expensive to get into. What kind of people would get into it? We're talking like ranges, retailers, things like that.
So the right now it is pretty pricey. It like starts at $10,000. But depending for what it does, that's actually really affordable compared to other people in the space. And it's also very small and compact, and it doesn't take up a lot. Like it doesn't affect your kit. You know what I mean? Like it disappears basically. But right now it's some government contracts and some private entities are interested as well. They just have to build it the way they want. And once that's done, we're good to go.
That's awesome. One of the things that I wanted to touch on that you mentioned earlier is the impact people have when they actually get to use the system that really can't be conveyed when you're just simply talking about it. And I think we saw that firsthand at Goals. Your all's booth was covered with people trying out the system. How valuable is it for people who maybe have your system to, invite their friends over for a friendly competition and kind of create their own social circles around this product and share it with their immediate friends or family?
I think it's really fantastic because you can have leaderboards and you can have groups of people that are either private or public, so they can see how each other is doing. So you can motivate each other to keep practicing. Our whole goal is to help people practice, to motivate people to practice. So we're not any way that you do that is fantastic in our minds, right? So if our products do help people to train more and become more proficient with the tool, then we're happy. So yeah, did I answer your question?
Yes.
Yeah. So but also just to see people improve, so they can take a problem that they might have had for a very long time, and because the analytics are so precise, zone in on it and make a correction and then see the result of that immediately. I compare it to, I used to do film photography. And in the old days, you would take a picture, and if you were really diligent, you write down notes about what the conditions were like, all the, your f-stops and your exposure time, and all of that stuff was put in your notes. Then you'd develop it, and then you'd look at your notes when you got the pictures back and they were horrible, and you'd try to figure out what you're doing and then try to reproduce that and fix it next time, right? There was a reason not many people did well with film photography. Digital came along and you could take a picture. Oh, I don't like that. Make a couple of adjustments. And wow, that's what I was looking for right now. And your results just went like this. It's the same thing with this. Like, you can dry fire at home until you're blue in the face, and then you could still be doing the same thing wrong, right? Or with laser-based system, even though we make one, it's fantastic. You could be doing the same thing that you're doing live fire and just compensating for it and not fixing the problem. We want to get to the root of the problem, fix it, and help you succeed. So
that's why I love Mantis. I'm sorry. It's one of the best training tools out there. Like, if you don't have one, get one. I'm selling his product for him, but if you don't have one, get one. I highly recommend it. I know it seems like a taunting price tag at first, but the amount of ammo you will save and the amount of like training and learning that you'll get so quickly, it is worth every single penny you're going to spend on it.
I have to agree, but I'm a little bit biased.
So I do want to ask, with this technology rapidly changing, just like all technology, is where do you see the end, beyond the augmented reality? Like, where do you see innovation go in the next 5-10 years?
That's a really good question, which usually means I don't have a great answer. But we do, every week we have a lunch, which is just an idea lunch, right? Anybody has any idea, there's no stupid ideas, bring it to the table and we'll see what we can do with it. And some of the stuff that gets thrown out there is really cool, really interesting and really cool. I think there's going to be a lot, I hate using the term AI, but there's going to be a lot more interactive feedback as opposed to just rote feedback. So it'll be more dynamic. It'll give us more feedback on, like in a live fire situation, on a lot more aspects of what was happening in that scenario. And I think the ability to record in 3 dimensions and analyze that will be useful as well. So that's probably the first part of it that we see coming. So yeah,
I'm just excited he's here. I could go on and talk about all this stuff for another 10 minutes if you want, but
go for it.
Well, I just think, like, the next question I really have for you is, as time goes on in the dry fire stuff, we see the SIRT pistol here. We've got the Blackbeard. Is there a way to incorporate like a round count so you can start doing mag changes and things like that? Is that something that we can see in the future, or something that we can do?
Round count is something that is being worked on. Yeah. So currently with an X10, you can do a round count. It's still picking up vibrations. So we're still picking up the vibration of the trigger press. So it's not always 100% perfect, but it's pretty close. But we are working on a physical device that will do a round count.
Yeah, that would be a game changer. Being able to swap mags and do all that, and can add additional kind of what is the word I'm looking for?
A more dynamic level of training.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, he knew what I was thinking without me even saying it.
Yeah, there's absolutely some limitations, which is why we again say that we are there to support training as opposed to, we're not like, because the biggest probably negative feedback we get is, well, there's no recoil. Yeah, you're right. And that's why you have to train, right? So you still have to go and train and work on your recoil management. But if you have a good trigger press, then really, if you have a good sight picture and you press and you have a good press, you're going to hit what you're aiming at. So those two go together really well.
Yeah, this doesn't substitute for live fire training, but it helps tremendously to learn. It's all about the small techniques. So if you don't learn how to properly grip a pistol and then pull the trigger and sight picture and all that stuff, you're not going to have a good time. But
Right.
learning all the small fundamentals and then putting them in and then knowing that you're good to go and then going out to the range and doing the live fire, then you can work on recoil mitigation and all that other stuff.
Absolutely. Exactly. So yeah, again, if it motivates you to train, we're happy. So yeah.
So let's go back to the leaderboard, because I know a lot of people are very competition heavy. I know that at least in our house, the sibling rivalry, man, English is hard today.
It's words are tough.
is intense. So how many people can be on a leaderboard? How big can your competition circle be?
We've got some leaderboards that are hundreds every week. I think they go into. I don't know that there's an actual hard limit. I don't know that we've ever reached the limit. So I could find out from the engineers, but as far as I know, we haven't maxed it out. So yeah.
I know we had.
I think we need one of those East Coast versus West Coast battles.
That's
it's like the 1 man versus or 100 man versus a gorilla meme conversation that's going on right now. I think that we need like some state by state rivalry. The who is that person? That, oh gosh, I sent it to you because it was talking about the regions of the United States if they were to fight each other.
I know who you're talking about.
And they said that the West Coast was going to win. I was like, absolutely not. You've never been to Tennessee. But I'm trying to think who that was.
If we did a competition in our office, I'd be the lone man standing by myself for the West Coast, and everybody else would be.
No, we have people on the West Coast. We just primarily are on the
you're Arizona. That's not West Coast, though.
No, that's not West. That's the Westest we've got. Besides, we've got a couple of people in California.
We've got like several people in California. We have an entire sister organization in California. I don't know what he's talking about all by himself. He just wants that, the world's smallest violin to be playing.
I want to be the gorilla against the 100 people, I guess. Which I don't know. I
mean, if it stimulates training, we're happy. So if that's what motivates people, we're happy about it. As long as it is fun.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen some of the leaderboards. So we had the one at Faxon that we used. I know Michael Cox, who's been on the show with us, his old shop, he had a leaderboard there that was up constantly. Yep. It's one of those things that what it really does is not only build training, but it also builds a community. Yep. And that's something we're really big on, is that on-ramp and that community that we're building. It builds a really cool community because some of the people on these leaderboards you may not meet in person, but you're building a community. You're competing against each other to get better. So that's what's really cool about this. It's not only that it's a training aid, but you can also find other like-minded people to help and keep you motivated.
We should do a GOA group, just as anyone that's in GOA or wants to be a part of it and just see.
Heck yeah.
Oh, that would be really cool.
Yeah. So we'll build one for you guys. That's easy.
Let's goals. At goals.
Yeah.
Go to the Mantis booth. Get on the GOA group and let's start seeing who's the best in GOA.
There we go.
That's awesome. Yeah, I love that idea.
Battle Royale. Winner takes all. Winner gets a one-on-one combat at the ATF by themselves.
I don't think that we're endorsing that.
Just kidding.
Please don't.
Don't.
No, but I think that would be really fun for our members to have a leaderboard. And
I think so too.
Yeah.
So go to the Mantis booth at Goals, stop by, see Grant, and he will help you get set up on that.
Yeah, anyone on the team can help you, but yeah.
This is brought to you by Patriot Mobile. Use code GOA for 1 month free for a freedom-loving mobile service. Patriot Mobile is a pro-freedom mobile carrier. They use the same towers as the big brands, and even to the point where if you have, you can switch between networks, between AT&T and Verizon and all that, just because Patriot Mobile does that for you. So use code GOA for 1 month free at Patriot Mobile.
so it's time for my personal favorite segment of the show, From the Soapbox, where we dive into the spicier side of things. Obviously, Mantis is very data-driven when it comes to shooting. Has there ever been a time that you have seen someone teaching someone firearms, or maybe on YouTube showing something off on a firearm where you're just like, oh no, let me help you with some cold hard facts, or anything that really just
squirming.
hits a nerve?
We see it all the time. Probably the thing that stands out the most is that some of the shows, this does not apply to anyone that's watching right now. Okay. This is other people, but we see people that are very proudly open carrying and probably shouldn't be. Like when we see the results of their score, oh, well, they've got every excuse under the sun. But sometimes some of the guys that are the most excited about being able to open carry should spend a little bit more time training and a little bit less time polishing their revolver. That's as politically correct as I can make it. I don't know.
I don't disagree with that statement whatsoever. I've seen some things. I've known some people. It's just, yeah. I'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
No, I don't want to be too spicy.
Well, yeah, whether it's gun handling, safety, like all the things that need to be trained, right? So, yeah.
I understand like YouTube videos are out there to help you and get you go. And that is a good baseline depending on who you watch. Don't watch the guy. I know he's no longer around. Do you remember I don't want to say his name out loud, but do you remember the guy who was teaching classes and just flagged all his circle invention?
Yeah.
Be careful of who you watch. And YouTube content is great to learn and get a good knowledge base, but definitely get a Mantis. Also, go get training with an instructor,
qualified instructor. Absolutely, yeah. Like we're going to support what the instructor says as opposed to conflicting with them or being competitive with them. It's an aid for the instructor. So yeah, and
definitely when you do take a class and you use the Mantis and things like that, always go in with an open mind, because you may be doing something wrong and the instructor might have something to teach you, and then go back and try your Mantis, see how your score improves.
Yep, exactly. I remember, I don't know what made me think of this, but my first, I'm originally from Canada, but I didn't share that. So they took away the guns. We can't have anything. It's really kind of sucky out there right now.
What part of Canada?
Originally, and this is how it's said, I'm from Regina, Saskatchewan. So not Regina, it's Regina. Yeah. Just gonna leave it at that.
Isn't part of Canada trying to come over? What is it?
It's that whole, I think it's Alberta.
Alberta, yeah.
Alberta's Canada's Texas. It's they do their own thing. I don't want to offend anyone. It's fantastic. I lived there. I really enjoyed it. But part of the reason I'm such a 2A supporter is because we don't have that. They don't have that anymore in Canada. I'm an American now, American citizen now. But the rights that they did have been constantly whittled away and dialed back. Like the government at the time when they banned ARs, used an event that no ARs were used in. None of the firearms that were used were legally obtained. None of the firearms used were owned by people that had a right or the legal designation to carry them. So they're all criminals already, and all the guns that were used were already illegal. And yet they used that to ban ARs. And it's just, that kind of stuff is scary. It's really scary.
So I want to pick your brain because I understand a little bit of Canadian law. I don't understand all of it. I've had some, one of the YouTubers that I've met is originally from Canada as well. We kind of picked our brains about this recently. But so Canada, when they banned everything, like the SKS was huge over there because it was stripper clip fed and it met the requirement.
Yeah.
The other thing is Canada got some cool pistols that the US wasn't allowed to get. They're from China. There was some cool stuff that came out, but I digress. But the other thing that Canada did have that the US didn't have was that backpacker shotguns were huge in Canada, which are which would be considered an SBS in the States. So why did they not go after things like short barrel rifles and stuff, but then go after like ARs and things like that?
Scare tactics. It wasn't practical or realistic. If you're legally allowed to own a firearm in Canada, you are already under the microscope. You could be pulled over at any time for any reason. You give up your rights in order to own a firearm. So it's just other ways to freak people out, in my opinion. And there's some practical reasons for it. Like there's a lot of wilderness and there's a lot of areas where you need to be armed to protect yourself from wildlife. And that's why there was some leeway given for some of those firearms for a while, at least. Now, who knows now?
Yeah, I think they banned everything now.
It's pretty bad. It's pretty bad. They canceled one of the biggest shows, TACOM, this summer. They canceled it. So
that was TechCom wasn't that considered like the SHOT Show of Canada?
Canada's version, yeah. Yep. It was a big show for Canada.
I know it was huge when we sent some guys when I was at Faxon the one year because we were going through Rainier because they did a lot of imports into Canada.
Yep.
It blows my mind. And this just proves why our Constitution is placed that a place like Canada, which is just north of us, was decently firearms friendly until recently, and we've seen the tyranny that's happened up there to get all their rights taken away. And we have our Second Amendment rights for that reason, so we don't get, they made it number 2 for a reason.
Yeah.
So.
Yep. When I first moved to the States, it was funny because my buddies were like, "Did you get a gun yet?" I was like, "No, I'm not legally allowed to get one." But the moment I was legally allowed to get one, I think it was a week before I had my application in. So, yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I always find it very interesting and very humbling when people leave and become U.S. citizens from places where you're not allowed to have firearms, because it seems like the zeal you guys have to protect the Second Amendment is oftentimes greater than many of the U.S. citizens, and even those that would consider themselves gun rights advocates or activists. How did you feel like you kind of choose to share that with your children and instill a love of the Second Amendment in them?
Yeah, so that's a good question. And I get not a lot, but I get some pushback from some of my friends because I am a supporter. Right. Because I believe in it. And, when tragedies happen, it's a really tough conversation to have, with loved ones, and especially with my 11-year-old daughter, but there's a bigger piece at stake. And that's, the ability to just have something that is a constitutional right and that allows you to, not just protect yourself, but exercise your rights, right? It's a component that if it were taken away and any of the other rights on the charter were taken away, it would freak people out. And this one, because it's contentious, people think it's fine to say it's fine to reduce or diminish or impede that right. And it's like, well, if you can do that with one of them, you can do it with any of them. So it's a slippery slope. How do I address that at home? It's an open topic for discussion. And it's something where, I want her to be educated and to be able to make an informed decision, regardless of which side of that topic she's on. So, yeah.
I want to circle back to something that you said early on in the episode, and that was about your LinkedIn profile. It is one of those things where there's some people who work in the industry who keep it very quiet. There's some people who make it very loud. And, why do you think it is that you would get blackballed from a industry because you're going to something that is a protected right to have in the US?
It's just a culture. Like, I didn't talk about it while I worked in the industry. I shot weekly. I went, that's what I did for training and recreation both. But I never spoke about it. And because I just knew it was a topic you didn't speak about. It was just not something that would be well received. And people would treat you differently. So, so when I made that commitment to put it on LinkedIn, I was basically saying something where I was at the pinnacle of my career. I was never going to go back to it. I didn't have that option anymore, I don't think. And based on the shift in the amount of headhunting requests that I get now, I think it was accurate. So I don't miss it. Every once in a while, I still do get an offer, and I'll show it to my wife, and she's like, "You'll be miserable." I'm like, "I know, but I just wanted you to see so that that these are options. That's the option." But I'm so happy with not only the company but the industry and getting to do what I love that I can't see myself ever going back.
Yeah, that's one thing that happens when you join the industry is you go from having a hobby to being part of it, and it's just like you do what you love and you don't want to get out of it.
Yeah,
it's just sad. And even as somebody who's worked in this space for almost 13 years now, even when I looked to get out of the space at one point, I only made it out of the space for like 3 months.
Yeah.
And I came right back because you enjoy it so much and then you get miserable. But also at the same time, people were like, "Oh, you did this before you came here," or "What did you do?" It's like, well, that's only a part of me as a human. That shouldn't judge me as a human being because I use a constitutionally protected right.
Right. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, it is challenging. And the way you navigate those questions and I think is telling of both sides of the party, when you have those conversations. So.
I do think that it takes an insane amount of courage for someone to leave, especially a field where you're at the peak, right? And you have all of these offers, and then you go into something that you love and it's a passion project, and you're visibly excited about your product, right? And what's to come. How does it I get excited when I talk about the Second Amendment. Mm-hmm. You very clearly get excited about it as well, but you are on a completely different side of the equation than I am. I love policy. I've been a policy nerd for ever and ever. But you guys are your product is quite literally saving people's lives because of increasing their training and increasing the quality of their time on the range, because we discussed earlier, range time can be very expensive. So how, I guess, what would be your advice to somebody who is maybe burnout in their career or wanting to go a different direction and looking to become that person in pursuit of their passion for the Second Amendment?
It's scary. I mean, there's no question about it. It's scary. But it's worth it. It's just that simple. It's scary, but it's worth it, especially if you've got a career path that you're excited about and that's intriguing and interesting to you and that's fulfilling. The only downside of it is my wife used to get a lot of really cool swag. And now I have to buy face care products and stuff like that at overpriced. And I get the swag now, which is nice. But yeah, it's just sometimes you just got to take that leap of faith, I think. I know I'm not giving great advice, but it's good to have a backup plan if you can, but we don't always have that option. So just go full steam ahead and put your heart and soul into it, and it usually pays off in dividends. So.
I couldn't agree more. Well, Grant, we're coming up at our wrap-up time, so I really appreciate you being on. Before we finish wrapping up, I want to tell you about our gift. We have a gift for you from PSA and AAC Ammo. They'll be sending that to you after the show.
Awesome.
So thank you, Palmetto State Army and AAC Ammo, for sponsoring our gifts for our guests for the season 2. Go ahead and shout out any socials, anywhere anybody can find you. I know you'll be at Goals, so definitely check out their booth at Goals. It is 900.
The booth number?
Yeah,
that's
900.
Awesome. Good for you.
I
don't know the booth number,
map.
so thank you for that.
Booth 900. Yep.
But yeah, we no matter where we're at, we're always going to have a dynamic booth. So we're always going to have something that you can do, hopefully learn or at least get bragging rights or something. And if not, just stop by and say hi. We'd love to see you. So.
Yeah, walk into the door, hang a right. They are right there. So when you come into Goals, they are front and center. Go straight to them.
You'll see all the new stuff. So,
yes.
Yeah.
Very cool. Well, again, thank you so much for being here. If you have not, hit the like button, subscribe, hit the bell notification. If you are listening on a podcast platform, please feel free to leave us a review. It definitely helps us move up the algorithm. And if you have not secured your tickets for Goals 2025, it is free for all GOA members, plus your spouse and children are free as well. Go to gunowners.org/goals to secure your tickets today.
And that is August 9th and 10th in beautiful Knoxville, Tennessee. So make sure to do that. And we will catch you guys on the next one.